we go. And I think we're live. And the show has started. I've hit the record button, which I forgot to do yesterday. And today we're going to thrive. It's Thriving Thursday with Dr. Nelson Bulmash. And so, oh, by the way, Nelson.
Yes.
Time to dance. There you go. You said you were a bouncer, so I'm sure
you was, and you had to know how to dance.
Show me your moves. Show me your
right.
moves. Today we're talking to Dr. Nelson Bulmash.
Bulmash,
story. Yes. Are you the bull man? Did you say that?
Lillian McDermott.
No, did I know?
Here we go.
Needafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friends. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who have been tuning in for the last 7 years or just stumbled upon the show yesterday, I am so grateful for you. Welcome back. But if this is the first time that you've tuned into the show, please know I've been waiting for you so that you know this show that I am committed to provide a safe place that you can go to when you need a friend. And it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, and today we have viewing friends from Facebook. I am so excited. We're on Facebook Live as well as on the radio, as we always are in the morning. And so today I am so excited that we are going to work together to not only learn a new truth, but embrace the life of our dreams. And so today, if you have any questions, of course, you can always text me at 407-373-5959, or you can go onto Facebook Live, Lillian's radio show, and you can ask the questions today from our teacher. And so most holistic, functional, or integrative practitioners begin their journey with a health crisis. Unfortunately, that's how many of us stumble upon natural health. So Dr. Nelson Bulmash, he is not only a chiropractor, he is also very, has embraced the natural world as a naturopath, and he is no exception. He also has a health story, a health crisis that led him to his passion today. And today he's going to share how this diagnosis has led him to empower others, not only himself to heal naturally in his practice, and also he has a radio show as well and his own podcast. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Nelson Bulmash is here to do just that. Welcome, Nelson, to the Lillian McDermott radio show.
It is a pleasure and an honor, Lily. Thank you so much for having me this beautiful day.
Well, thank you for accepting the invitation. And so share a little bit about your background, your credentials as a doctor, and what led you in your story to where you're at today.
Absolutely, Lily. So I am a chiropractor. I'm a naturopath. I have what are called 2 diplomates in nutrition. Mm-hmm. A diplomate, for those who don't know, is a very high-level postdoctoral certification that takes about 3 years to do. So you do case studies, you write papers, you do lab work, and at the end of that period of time, you are very heavily tested for a potentially 4-hour oral exam, lab exams, you defend your paper, and it's a process that takes place over about 4 or 5 days. So what happened to me is I went out to Las Vegas to defend my work back in, I think it was 1999 or the year 2000. And I was staying in a room with 2 of my best friends. One snored like a freight train. I've never heard anybody snore so loudly. So I went the better part of 5 days without sleeping.
Wow.
Yeah, by the end of that period, I could barely put sentences together. I was that exhausted.
Wow.
But what really was interesting is that we all came down with a very severe form of colitis. And I'll never forget, the 2 doctors I was with were 2 brilliant, highly regarded doctors in this country. And one of them came out of the bathroom and he stared at me and I said, "You too." And he said, "Oh my God, Nelson, what has happened to us?" So we were a mess while we were going through this procedure, and one thing led to another, and an avalanche of things happened, Lily, and I blinked my eye. I had a very, very severe form of colitis that nobody could identify, and in no time at all, I was diagnosed with 2 autoimmune diseases, with a third or fourth suspected. And I had Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I had ulcerative colitis, and it was suspected I had either Sjogren's or lupus. So I ended up having my life go from amazing. Excuse me. I was a very, very powerful man, had nearly a 600-pound bench press, 220, 240 pounds. And suddenly I had severe chronic fatigue. I had no ability to effectively think or to do. And my energy had gone from, being a person who had the most energy of anyone I knew and had tremendous strength to, I didn't know how I was going to put my shoes on and get ready for work. And then 6 months later, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So I was a guy who grew up in a family. My father was an extraordinarily brilliant microbiologist. He was the first person in the world to solve certain health crises. And my mom was a dietitian. So I had always, Lily, been exposed to incredible things regarding health and nutrition. I grew up, and as early as I could remember, 4 and 5 years of age, we were having amazing discussions at the dining room table about health. But when I got non-Hodgkin lymphoma, it was very, very clear. I was in my front bathroom one day. I want to share a quick story with you. And I was sitting there lying with my 2 daughters. I had my older daughter snuggled up on the floor with my right arm and my left daughter on my left arm. And all of a sudden, one of the problems that I had is I had a lot of trouble with bleeding when I had my cancer. And I realized I was bleeding. I didn't want to upset my daughters if they happened to see it. So I got up, went in and realized that I needed a miracle, and things happened from that point on.
Okay, and we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Nelson Bulmash when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Very good, very good. And sorry to interrupt,
okay.
But as for those of you who are on Facebook Live, you'll get to hear more of the story. So thank you for joining us. I'm so glad that you are with us. I am looking forward to if you have any questions for Dr. Bulmash, you're welcome to discuss it. He would like to be called Nelson, so I will call you Nelson from this point on.
Fantastic.
And so when you are told, how old were you again when this happened?
I was in my 30s.
You were in your 30s. And at that time, were you, although you come from a pedigree of nutrition and health and wellness, was it more allopathic or was it more integrative, holistic, functional?
It was very much functional and integrative.
Okay.
It's funny. I was working with a number of really regarded people, medical doctors. And so we had one of the first here in Atlanta, one of the first integrated facilities. And I was hanging in there kind of treading water, Lily. And suddenly my friends said to my wife, Nelson has cancer. We know that he's very, very good with nutrition, but he still should have somebody to at least evaluate him who's impartial. And so a series of miracles happened for me, Lily, and I went on to meet a number of people, Bill Curry, Robert Marshall, Ellen Cutler, all very, very well-known docs in the United States here, and they put Humpty Dumpty back together again, and I am alive and well today.
Wonderful. And so we talk about, and I'm grateful for that, and I do want to talk about the miracles after we come back on the air.
Yes.
But we talk about on the show the importance of the spirit work, the mind work, the spirit work. It's not just the body work. So we talk about nutrition. Yeah, that's very important. But how the childhood traumas, the things, the perceptions that we have, and how that feeds disease into our life. If you're comfortable with it, I would love to talk about that as well.
Completely, and I think you're going to get a lot of amazing material.
I am counting on it. I am counting on it.
Yeah, the story's pretty amazing. Yeah.
You can text Lillian McDermott.
I want to see some more of those moves.
At 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show, where we always learn from one another. Today's teacher is Dr. Nelson Bulmash, and he is teaching us today. We are learning from him left and right. Just remember that, we only know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know. And so today we're going to be talking about how you can thrive after a diagnosis of cancer, and not only thrive, but be able to take that experience to not just help yourself, but to help others, which is the highest form of taking ownership for your life. So today we're talking to Dr. Nelson Bulmash, and I'm so excited that I'm sorry that we had to cut you off at the story that
Lily, I get it. Yeah,
you
no
get it.
problem
We
at all.
have to, those hard outs. So let's talk about, so once you found out that you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, you're sitting there in the story that you were sharing with your daughter on your left side and the other daughter on your right side with a lot of bleeding. And so what happened?
So I loved Hallmark movies. I had an interesting early part of my life. As you know, I was a bouncer. I worked in some really big, rugged nightclubs, did a lot of fighting. And it's interesting because my nature isn't combative, but I I had a lot of trauma in those early years. And as I was mentioning, I had my beautiful daughter, Ariel, who's now working on her PhD in cellular molecular biology and biochemistry. And my other beautiful daughter, Sophia, who's in college, who's also doing amazing things. And I started to bleed, and I said, oh gosh, I don't ever want to gross them out because the smell of iron is so unpleasant. So I excused myself. I went into the bathroom, and I was sitting there, and I couldn't stop myself from bleeding. And after 45 minutes, my adorable little Ariel knocked on the door, and she said, Daddy, are you okay? You've been in here for a long, long time. And I said, I'm fine, sweetheart. I'm fine. She said, Daddy, we're watching a Hallmark movie together, and you're going to miss the ending, and that's what you really want to see. I said, sweetheart, I will be out in just a second. I promise you, honey. You make sure if I miss it, you can tell me how it ends. Okay, Daddy. I said, go lie down, honey, and enjoy the rest of the movie. I don't want you to miss it, okay? She said, all right, Daddy, I'll meet you back in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat there, and I didn't know what to do, Lily. I knew that the cancer probably wasn't going to kill me. I was going to die of hypovolemic shock because I couldn't control the bleeding. And so I said a prayer. I said, God, I need a miracle. I need something to happen because if I can't stop this bleeding, I stood up, I looked in the toilet, it was crimson red.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this is not a good thing. So I prayed. I said, God, I need a miracle, or I am not long for this world. I cannot go many more days with this. So suddenly, and this is going to sound strange, and I've never ever spoken about this publicly
Thank you
in a
for
venue like
sharing.
this.
Yeah.
But after I prayed, a voice spoke to me and said, you will be fine, my son, and you must go through this. And that was a very, very profoundly spiritual awakening for me. Because at first it's like, what in the world just happened? Who spoke in my mind just now? And so I I ended up having a series of miracles, one thing after another, after another, after another. And before I knew it, I was on my way to improving. But when you have something like cancer, Lily, it wakes you up at a level that is so deeply profound if you're willing to awaken. And so my life has been a rocket ride since then. I have come across some of the most brilliant minds in functional medicine. It has changed my spiritual beliefs. It has made me a better husband, a much better father, a much better person. It renders you very, very humble and open to what comes your way. And I have been remarkably blessed. I've been in remission now for 11 years.
Wow.
And I'm very, very happy to say that because I wasn't sure I was going to make it.
Very good. And so there's always hope. And
Yes.
I've heard of people say, I don't want to hope because I don't want to be disappointed. Listen, I'd rather you be disappointed in the end, but be hopeful during the
Yes.
whole process.
No question.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so with that in mind, here you are, you hear this voice, and now you know that you must go through this. And I truly believe that we go through things in life for a reason, for a purpose and a
Agreed.
mission. And so because you accepted your mission,
Yes.
like those
Yes.
movies that says, this is your mission. If you accept, if you accept it, this is your mission.
Exactly.
And everything changes. And because you accepted it, now you give it purpose and meaning, and you're
Right.
able to, which is ownership, is to be able to use this experience, and you know what it's like to be told, what it's like to have a disease. You know what it's like to not know if you're going to live. You know what it's like. So it will make you a better doctor ultimately
No
as you're
question.
helping others heal. So let's talk about how, you know, we talk about always on the show that disease is about 95% emotional trauma.
Yes.
And Dr. Lee Cowden has come, and I quoted him so many times. He's come on the show and he says, listen, if you could just heal the spirit, heal the past traumas, the body will heal cheaply and quickly.
Yes.
But we hold on
Yes.
to these traumas because we don't even want to look at them. So what would you like to say as far as how did that relate to you?
What a great question. Thank you for asking me that, Lily. Here's why that question is so important to me. Lily, I actually, though a very big and powerful man, have a very tender spirit. Anybody who knows me well will say he's a gentle giant. He's a very, very powerful man. I was an excellent fighter. Matter of fact, in my earlier years, my martial arts instructors actually wanted me to become a professional fighter. I did not want to go down that path. And so the emotional component to this, the spiritual component was I was living in Flint, Michigan when the automobile industry crashed.
Mm-hmm.
I needed some kind of job, Lily, to help me stay in school. So one day I showed up at a big nightclub where we got thousands of people in per night, particularly in the summertime. And the guy looked at me and he laughed. He said, "Who's going to be afraid of you? You're 245, 250 pounds. You're a small guy for a bouncer." And a friend of mine, who was a very large man at nearly 400 pounds and nearly 7 feet tall, said, "Trust me, you'd rather have him than me." He
Wow.
said, "Give him a night." After that night, I was hired immediately. And I continued to work and I made decent money. What I couldn't handle, Lily, is that I was dealing with people who were drunk on cocaine, on meth, and
Sure.
drugs that made them very, very different than they typically would be. So they were contrarian in nature, if you want a very euphemistic kind way to describe it. Some of them were extremely violent, and I got in horrible, horrible fights, and I could never digest the actions that I took against these people. Because when somebody's on angel dust, you have to cripple them or they're going to kill you. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I was attacked by these people, the awakening of, my goodness, I'd never seen these people were like zombie maniacs,
Mm-hmm.
attacking me and attempting to kill me. So
Wow.
I had to do things to them that I never, I won't say never. I had a tremendous amount of difficulty digesting the horrible things that I did. To stop somebody on angel dust, you have to literally break them so they can't get up. And
Wow.
so what happened? I got non-Hodgkin lymphoma of the lymphatics of my digestive system.
Mm. Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? So
Yes.
I would like to add to what you're saying is that because of your nature, you were you were against what your
That's right.
will, what your
Yes.
natural, uh,
Inclinations were.
yes.
Yeah.
And so also possibly as an empathic person, you were absorbing their energy.
Yes.
That's why it's so important that we protect ourselves with the people, because our energy is constantly out there. And if we are a receiver of that energy,
Yes.
we're just going to just like, that's when
Yeah,
we like,
exactly.
I've been working I work in the medical, with doctors as
Right.
well. And I've been doing some installations and I find myself in a pain management group it's a wonderful group of people, but the patients are so much in pain. And I call my husband up and I go, I am just not feeling well. I'm thinking I need to put on some protection before I
To
go
shield
into this
yourself.
place and
Yes.
shield myself, because
Yes.
I am like, without realizing, receiving this energy from people. That is why it is so important that we surround ourselves with like-mindedness. I'm not saying, take away, don't be a part of people that are like different than you, but
Sure.
protect ourselves for it. So do you feel that that was part of it? Not only could you not digest what you were doing, you weren't dealing with it, releasing it, it got stuck in your body, then
I,
it
I
meant
couldn't say it better. Absolutely, Lily. Yes.
perfect. So how long did it take? You had all these wonderful people. What were some of the modalities that you used to heal?
I did everything from prayer to meditation to gentle exercise. I never gave up my exercise. And that was very, very important for me
Yeah.
because it centered me, it grounded me, it increased oxygen delivery, lymphatic drainage, nutrient delivery, and it kept me sane, Lily. One of the things that's so difficult when you have cancer or it could be recovering from a horrible car accident,
Hmm.
anything that's highly traumatic is it can be very challenging, Lily, to keep yourself grounded and
Hmm.
to keep yourself removed from the terror of what happened or what is currently happening.
Sure, sure.
And so you have to develop strategies for that. So meditation, prayer, emotional freedom technique later became very, very important to me, and eating incredibly well. And when I say eating, Lily, I don't just mean eating really good food. There's a woman up here from I think she's from Thailand, and she has an amazing Thai restaurant. And
Hmm.
when you eat her food, what everybody says is, I've never eaten food that I feel so much love while eating.
Hmm.
She pours her love into what she makes you. And so when I say eating really well, I don't just mean eating really well, like the act of eating. I mean knowing that you are putting things into your body that make you more whole, more complete, more nutritionally sound.
Very good, very good. So you were in your response, you also answered one of my questions, which because when we're talking about the body,
Yes,
there are certain things that we're told like, oh, you need chemotherapy, and I've said on the show, and I've learned from other doctors that none of us are chemotherapy deficient, and so you used modalities that were building your body as
yes,
opposed to killing every cell in your body.
exactly.
But on the other hand, you also worked on your spirit. Let's talk a little bit about emotional freedom technique for those of my listeners and my viewers that may not know what emotional freedom technique is.
Okay, emotional freedom technique is called the tapping technique. So
Mhm,
what you're doing is you're tapping on key points that also, by the way, are often thought of along energy lines called meridians.
mhm.
And so this simple solution of speaking aloud what you might be embarrassed or what you might hate or what you might be fearful of allows the body to begin to clear itself of these traumatic emotional issues.
Yes.
And it was very, very effective for me, Lily. And it still
Yes.
is. I still use it to this day.
Very good. I mean, there's so many different techniques to release trauma that is stored in our body. But the one thing is that I want people to take away from what you just finished saying is that you just didn't work on your body with nutrition and
Yes,
working out with
correct.
exercise and all that you also did the emotional work that helped your body heal and release whatever caused the disease to happen in the first place, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So now you've moved on. You're feeling better. You've been in remission for 11 years,
That's
and
correct.
and now we get to talk about all the stuff that you've learned in our next segment
Okay.
because we're gonna continue our conversation with Dr. Nelson Bulmash. And if you have any questions if you are now dealing with a diagnosis and you have any questions, feel free to call, text 407-373-5959, or you can ask the doctor on Facebook Live. And we're going to continue our conversation when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Excellent. You did tell me you delivered. You did say that I was going to be, no, you didn't say I was going to be blown away, but I was pretty blown away. But you said that you would give me uh, um,
It'd be worth
information.
waiting for. Yes.
Yeah, yes, you would give me information that would be powerful information. So what I want to do now as we move forward, and by the way, Deidre, thank you so much for listening and watching. Hopefully you're watching too. So Deidre is listening. I don't know where you're from, but for those of you who absolutely love Dr. Nelson Bulmash, I am glad that you are with us. And for those of you who follow me on Facebook and on social media, I'm so glad you're with us. Okay, so I do want to dive a little bit more since we're off the air, and many people have a hard time looking. How long did it take you to realize the connection between the trauma that you were putting your body in those nightclubs when you grew up in a very healthy way,
Yes.
but
Yes, I
here
did.
you are in this nightclub that is totally against your spirit because
Right.
you needed to make money. And I don't blame you for that.
Yeah, there was no other way. The city was dying. Flint, Michigan, the automobile industry had collapsed.
Yes.
42% of the population that they claimed were unemployed.
Yeah, I remember that time. It was
Yeah.
very devastating. And here you are absorbing that energy too.
Yes,
At
exactly. The
what
death of a
point did
city.
at what point did you make that connection for yourself?
Very, very early. And I want to
Really?
share two things with you. One is that I'm looking down at my Facebook page, and one of the gentlemen, all these years ago, is I don't want to mention his name. I don't know if he wants me to, but who ended up getting sick with me is watching our show right now.
Oh,
So you know what?
wonderful.
I'm just gonna give a shout out.
Yeah.
Dr. David Siegel, you are brilliant. I love you, and thank you for watching the show. You're one of the finest men and doctors I know.
Wonderful. So I can't see him on my page. So,
Yeah.
but thank you so much for watching. I'm so grateful that you are here. So here's the deal. You said you back then we didn't talk about this mind body spirit
No, we
connection.
didn't. No, we did not.
How did you make that connection yourself?
Uh, if you'll excuse the grossness, some of the acts I did, sometimes what would happen is the poor auto workers would lose their jobs working on the assembly lines. These were not educated people. They were fine people, but they were kind of salt
Mhm.
of the earth,
Yeah.
grounded, not well educated. And sometimes 3,000 people in a day would lose their jobs. And so,
Yeah.
Lily, they would come in to get their frustration out by
So
getting
their pain was like oozing.
oozing. Yeah. And so they'd come to our clubs, and what would invariably happen is they would get in fights with rich kids, because we had an area that were, in Flint, that were very, very affluent. And then we had kids who were very, very poor. We had a lot of military and a lot of shop workers. And they would meet in the streets, so to speak, at our clubs, and they would throw down. And it was my job and the job of a handful of other guys who were extraordinary men as well, in the same situation I was. We didn't want to hurt anybody. We wanted to keep peace. And the anger of these particularly young men who had to go into the military and risk their lives in combat
Hmm.
were very, very angry.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
they saw it as their only choice out in life. And these others were wonderful men who were taking care of their families, and they'd lost everything they had, and many of them ended up on the street. And so they were seething and enraged, and I had to deal with that, and it used to upset me so badly. There were times I had to go into the bathroom and throw up, because these men were so taken by their rage they couldn't see life straight through anything, any lens that was logical. And so I would have to hurt some of them so badly to stop them and to remove them from the club, because they were not only a danger to themselves, but they would really go ballistic and hurt innocent people in the club. And so it was my job, it was incumbent upon me and some of the others there to get them out of our club. And some of them, these were really, really tough men,
Hmm.
military men, shop men. And so the fights I had were devastating. And I just
Wow.
sometimes used to have to throw up because I couldn't stomach what I was doing and who I was. And I came home one night, and my mom, who I adored.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and my goal is to learn from each other. Be curious. Go through life with this curiosity that we seem to have lost once we get a diploma and we think that we know it all. But the
Yes.
reality is we don't. We don't know it all. And so I want to encourage you to be a part of this energy. Earlier on the show, we talked about the energy that is emitted outward from our body. This is a place where you can go to when you need a friend. So I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, subscribe to my website. While you're there, there's lots of buttons. There's social media. Follow me on social media. Follow me on YouTube. Go click on the YouTube and follow me there. When you subscribe to my YouTube channel or my social media or my website, the show goes right to you. So if you miss it and you want to listen to it again, you'll have it right in your email. So please become a subscriber and follow me there. while you're at whenyouneedafriend.com, and when you subscribe, you get my 90-day challenge to self-love ebook. But while you're there, make sure you check out my sponsors, because without my sponsors, they would be no show. So make sure you figure out ways to support my sponsors the way they are supporting the show. And also you can find me on podcasts, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, again, YouTube. And last but not least, you can always stay connected. You can call or text me at 407-373-5959. Now, I've had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Nelson Bulmash, and not only through my connection through United Intentions with Tim Ray, but also I attended a gala not too long ago, and I had the pleasure of spending some time with Nelson. And so here you are. I'm going to be on your show pretty soon.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and now here you are on my show, and I'm just so enjoying this conversation. So before we went on the break, we were talking about tapping and emotional freedom and the energy that we pick up from other people, and how important it is that we surround ourselves or protect ourselves from, or shielding ourselves from that negative energy that could bring us down, because that energy is strong. Even though it's a low frequency, it's a very strong, it's very highly penetrating, very contagious. It's like a bubonic plague. So I had asked you the question, how quickly you found out the connection. We talked about that off the air. I want to encourage, for those of you, you can watch this off the air conversations on YouTube, or you can go to my Facebook at Lillian's Radio Show later on and watch the video in its entirety. So I wanted to ask you, you heard the voice. You heard the voice, which I call our intuition. I call it, because I know God lives within us. And it's the voice of God. It's the voice of the intuition that we have within us.
Right.
And so you heard that, and you had focus. You had a vision, a focus. You knew you'd be okay, and that's all you were looking at. And you manifest what you focus on.
You got it.
How do you help people that come to your practice, because I want to switch and go to your practice now, that feel that they have a disease, they are the disease, all they can focus on is the disease, their pain, their this, their that. What are some words of wisdom that you can give people who are listening, that are watching today, to formulate this equivalent of that voice that you heard, but within them?
I want to share something with you. Lily, when you begin to allow yourself to have an antenna and receive all things that would be effective in helping you live a better life, whether it be to get through cancer, whether it be to become a better husband, a better parent, a better worker at your job, whatever the case may be, things begin to come to you. And I love it. It makes me laugh every single day because these things come to me. So one day I was relaxing, doing a wonderful Epsom salt bath where I love to read, and all of a sudden across my Facebook screen came an article, and this article changed my life, and it changed the way I interact with my patients. Mm-hmm. The article was about a medical doctor who had done a study of people, a group of people who had failed. They all had stage 4 cancer. They had failed radiation treatments, surgery, and chemotherapy. Mm-hmm. And yet all of them lived. Mm-hmm. You know what the number one thing, Lily, they had in common?
Hope.
Yeah, and you could certainly say that. The number one thing, Lily, that they all had in common was certainly hope.
And a plan, a mission, a plan.
He realized that all of these people, me included, I laughed when I read this, me included, they all realized, yes, we're all going to die. Nobody gets off of this ride alive.
Correct.
Meaning, at some point, we all die. They accepted the possibility of their death. The difference was they said, I am not going to become my disease. I'm going to live with passion and purpose every single day of my life. Now, when you get in that mindset, Lily, something very, very interesting occurs. And that is that the immune system can now relax and actually fight the fight. When you engage in life from a perspective of fight, you get more fight. What happens is, Lily, the immune system shuts down so that you can, outrun the saber-toothed tiger or kill the cave bear, whatever. So when you take yourself out of fight or flight mode, all of a sudden your physiology calms down and it says, let me deal with the cancer now. Let me deal with the disease now. And that was the number one thing that all of the patients who live
Love it. Yes.
ended up in common.
It,
And I
that's
teach all my patients that.
That's a wonderful lesson. And there's three P's that I always say there's
Right.
three P's. Well, there's three P's for our lymphatic system: pee, poop, and perspiration, right?
Perspiration.
That's the
Yes.
way you get rid of all the poisons and the toxins. But there's that the other P's that I'm talking about is passion and purpose.
Right.
But unfortunately, there's a third P that people hang on to, which is poison. Poison. That disease becomes poison and toxic, and it just continues to manifest that I'm checking out. I'm not going to live this,
Yes.
and it's going to be what ends it. Some people use their disease to check out, and it's not intentional. And it's not intentional. Perhaps that's the way it was supposed to be, but it's amazing how these people, stage 4. I've had many people on the show, stage 4, sent home to die, that have thrived like you have on this. So okay. So let's talk about your practice. Because of what you've learned, you've come up with something called torque reset.
That's correct.
So let's talk about the torque reset. What is that, and what can we learn about?
Well, once again, I live from a perspective, Lily, that nothing is accidental. So I became highly effective in being a bouncer. I'm the man who, once I'm going to take on anything, I'm going to be a study of whatever that is, and I'm going to be really good at it. So I became really good at becoming a bouncer. And what that meant was, one of the things I had to do is become really effective at getting people who were drunk or under the influence of very powerful drugs to be locked up in a way that they could not hurt me. Yeah. So I did a lot of joint work technique, right? So here's the funny thing. All of a sudden, one day, I had this epiphany. If I take this joint and I don't take it to the point of breaking it, but if I take it with much less force, I can get a torque reset that resets the bones of the body instead of breaks them. And all of a sudden, this thing blew up beautifully, where I started realizing there's a fascial component that very few people address. And I heard it said recently by another doctor that you have 10 times the pain receptors in fascia that you do in muscle, as an example. So I realized, yes, the nervous system is very important. Lymphatic system is very, very important, and so forth. But you must address releasing the emotional content. And not that it's my goal to release the emotional content, but you realize when you start releasing fascial distortions in the body, all of a sudden the joints help normalize, the nervous system starts normalizing. So torque reset is this wonderful, non-invasive, gentle system that allows me to use torque techniques through chiropractic that are very, very effective in eliminating neurologic distortions, fascial distortions, and mechanical distortions.
Very good. Now, is that part of your protocol? Is that the first thing you put your patients through?
Lily, it completely depends on why they're coming in to see me.
Okay.
I spent years, I think, as you know, working with very high-level athletes. And so I was a team doctor and a team coach on the world powerlifting team. Yeah. And so these poor men and women would look at me and say, Dr. Nelson, you got to figure it out. I can't go out on the stage and lift if you don't get rid of what's going on with my shoulder or my hamstring or my low back. So this technique, Lily, became incredibly effective for me, taking a person often standing or sitting in a chair and doing this or that, and then sending them back out on the floor, so to speak, to compete. Wow. So if somebody comes in with a lot of physical issues, pain issues, mechanical issues, neurologic issues, I start there. But if somebody has a lot going on nutritionally, I start there and always attempt to work them into chiropractic. So I do chiropractic and nutrition.
Very good. So, and you're in Georgia, Alpharetta, Georgia. And for those of you who want to learn more about Dr. Nelson, you can go to health-matters.net. That's health-matters.net. And you can also listen to him on his show. When do you do your show?
My show is every other Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Health Matters. The name of my business, Health Matters with Dr. Nelson Bulmash.
Very good. And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Nelson Bulmash when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Great information. with this, did you create the torque reset? Is this your
Yes.
trademark? Is this your,
Yes. It is my technique.
it's your technique. And so do you teach others this technique? Teach it other, is this your own?
I did. Last year I taught in Atlanta, in Dallas, and in Carlsbad, California. I have not this year. Lily, my radio show is exploding so much. This week I'm going to be on the air 3 or 4 times. So I keep trying to expand my own radio show, and I can't because I'm now on so many other shows that I can't commit any more time to my own show. So
Yeah.
It'll all work out in the wash, so to speak, over time.
That's great. And so when do people feel immediate release? Because I do want to talk about fascia when we come back, because I don't think I've ever done a show on fascia. We've done shows on lymphatic, this the lymphatic system, we've done all, and there's so many different components of the body that we don't even know. I mean, our body is so beautifully perfect that it's like you drive your car, but you really don't know what really makes the car drive. There's so many different components.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, we've heard the expression that you would never put sand in your gas tank and expect your car to run, but yet we do that to ourselves. And so, here you are, you have this car that's running, but maybe the tires are bald, or maybe the oil hasn't been changed. And and if there are people who drive their car, they don't even think about those things as maintenance. So when we get back, and Andre, if you can let me know when we're about to go back, that would be great. Thank you. Anyway, so when how do you have the person determine, okay, is it their brake light? Is it their brake pads? Is it their tires? How do you kick the tire? How do you know at what point? And I would like to talk about that and the fascial. Now, do you do, I've heard of cupping. I've heard of, what are other modalities that other people might know that help relieve fascial contraction? Is that
if you've got a really educated massage therapist, that works. Acupuncture can work. Chiropractic, if somebody's doing soft tissue applications, can work. Cupping is amazing. Cupping is my go-to for fascial distortions.
How do you know somebody has a fascial distortion?
Well, anytime you have a joint, for example, that's not working correctly, Lily, there is a guaranteed fascial distortion. And one of the things that I'm going to do, one of the big complaints that people have about me is, Nelson, for heaven's sakes, get your videos on the internet.
I just talked to you about that before the show.
I know you did, Lily. You're right. And it's just, Lily, I'm going 12 to 15 hours a day right now. And what I need to do is just say, I'm going to hire a young college student. Please help me with this. Yeah. Because I just don't have time anymore. I've got more shows today that I have to do, and then I've got to do research and so on and so forth. So I'm always up to really, really wonderful things. But know that if you have a pain problem, you've got a fascial issue. And here's what's really neat.
Okay, let's hold that thought and we'll discuss it.
Okay.
This is our last segment. Isn't this our last segment? What time is it? Goodness gracious, time goes by so quickly. What are you drinking?
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail.
This is a combination.
373-5955.
Royal jelly.
Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow together. Today's teacher is Dr. Nelson Bulmash. I am absolutely loving our conversation. It's a conversation of hope. It's a conversation of taking 100% ownership for your life. It doesn't matter what has happened in your life. It didn't happen to you. And someone isn't at fault for it. It happened for you.
I love that,
Lily. You can grow and learn and experience things so that maybe if you go to my 100% responsibility page at whenyouneedafriend.com, that is where we take 100% ownership. So I want to encourage you that if you're going through something and you're blaming somebody else, then it can be released. And it does, if you don't release it, it will inhabit the body and it will manifest into disease. Dr. Nelson Bulmash has been talking about how he can trace cancer in his body to his life and what he's done before. So if you're just tuning in on the radio, this is a must show to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, either go to the Facebook or YouTube video. So, okay, so while we were on the break, we talked a little bit about fascia.
Right.
And I don't think we've done enough shows on fascia. So share a little bit about fascia and why pain has a lot to do with that distortion of the fascia.
Absolutely. Thank you. I want to say a couple things. Once again, I just want to take a moment and refer back to something. I mentioned to you some years ago that I had the great privilege of working with a team of medical doctors who were chosen from around the United States. One of them was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Hal Blattman, who was recently on my show and is considered one of the top people doing functional work with pain, doing functional work that corrects all kinds of chronic low back, shoulder, hip, neck, etc. And we had an amazing conversation because we hadn't seen each other in many years. And the key point of agreement with us was talking about the importance of fascia. And we looked at each other like, wow, I can't believe this, because you're going to, in the next years to come, Lily, you're going to hear tremendous amounts
it's time.
It's time.
It's the F word. It's the F word.
It's the F word. Yeah, exactly. So, you hear people talk about the nervous system. You hear people talk about joints. What people don't know is fascia invests and covers it all. So when it distorts, you get distortions, whether it be of the nervous system, whether it be of the mechanoreceptors, of the joint mechanics. And so when you change that transparent single layer thickness covering of everything in the body, all of a sudden the body comes back to life. Mm-hmm. And so I started getting into my torque reset, which specifically is geared to remove those distortions. Mm-hmm. And Lily, here's what's amazing. I didn't know it at the time. I just realized that you can't see my hand, that if I went in and functionally did this torque, I got this incredible pop. And everybody said, I don't get it. I didn't feel anything. That wasn't a joint. And I said, no, it wasn't. That was a fascial release. And they would move an elbow or a shoulder and say, I don't know what in the world you just did. I can move my shoulder. I can move my neck. I can move my foot or my hip. And so I developed this whole system in and around this, which has been highly successful and highly effective, and created a waiting list practice for us.
Wow, that's wonderful. Maybe we can do a show on fascia and so that people understand, because that's like the wrapping paper. That's the saran wrap around our muscles, and that keeps our bones together and our joints together. So it is very important. And I was making the analogy of, people drive their car and don't even know that they have to worry about their brake pads, or that they need to, there's certain little things that we need to do. And then eventually the car breaks down. That's right. That's right. So another thing I want to touch on, because I was doing some research on you as well, is that you work with brain injury. And I was just recently diagnosed with a post-traumatic brain injury from an automobile accident that I had over a year ago. And I was told by Dr. Bennett Omalu, who was the one that the movie Concussion was based on, with Will Smith. And he said, well, once you have post-traumatic brain injury, you can't reverse it. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, I'm going to say that I adamantly disagree with that.
Okay,
adamantly.
Thank you.
Passionately and adamantly. So once again, we go back to the miracles of life. One of my best friends is Denise Hetrick, who was almost killed in 2 severe accidents. I think one was skiing. The other was definitely a car accident. She said, I am not going to be this person who has lost her brain function forever. She is the owner of Clear Mind Center Technology.
Oh, that's Denise.
Denise Hetrick.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
She is a very, very dear friend of mine of many years.
Wonderful.
So, Lily, I never, there's so many wonderful things in life. I never expected to have a successful radio show. It just didn't occur. It was never on my radar, right?
Yeah.
I never expected to help people with traumatic brain injuries. It just wasn't on my radar. So suddenly I realized that Denise had this amazing technology, too, in particular, her neural feedback system, which allows you to map out the brain. And by mapping out the brain and seeing where the lesions in the brain are, you can target through coordinated efforts using sound, pulsating sound, and pulsating light. You can engage the brain in something called entrainment, and through operant conditioning or biofeedback. And so you can retrain the injured part of the brain to redevelop, reformat itself And I have seen fighters, I've seen people in tremendous car accidents, strokes. Lily, the reason I have a radio show is because a friend of mine who was a producer and director for years of media, radio, TV, had a bad stroke. And he's in his 70s now. And he looked at me one day and he said, please, Nelson, please, I cannot end my life this way. Slurred speech, I can't walk. I know you can help me. I know you can. And I said, I got it. And I worked on him for a year with her focus unit technology, which is a portable version of the neurofeedback system. And I did chiropractic and I did nutrition. And in a year, he is back to well over 90% function. That's how I got my radio station, because Tim Ray of the Good Intentions show said, that's the guy that did that? Okay, I'll put him on my show. And that started a whole chain reaction of things.
Wonderful. That's great. You see, everything works out. For those of you who are out there going, oh yeah, but he doesn't know my life, or you don't know what I've gone through. There are so many people that have gone through even more in what we have gone through. People in concentration camps that were hopeful and found purpose. I forget that Frank, I'm trying to remember his name, but he was a concentration camp survivor and became a very popular speaker and
right.
and motivational and helped so many people. He said that he found beauty in the fish head floating in his water. That was their nutrition. It was like a fish, like in water, and it was and he would find purpose and a beauty in that. And I saw this movie, Nelson, called Collateral Beauty. That was very impactful. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have.
It didn't do well in the box office. We talk about collateral damage. Everywhere we look is collateral damage. But to find the beauty, collateral beauty, and in the traumas and the devastation in our life. And that's why I love the 100% responsible page at whenyouneedafriend.com. That's where we dissect and find the beauty.
Yes.
So let's talk about the beauty in that moment when you were told you had cancer. Let's go back.
It's very interesting how it happened, because the person who I told you about a moment ago who's watching our show was my friend who went with me when I got checked out. And I was at a big event and I went to 5 different doctors, all very, very renowned at this international symposium. And they had various ways of checking me. And all 5 of them looked at me and said, Nelson, I don't know how to tell you this, son, but you have non-Hodgkin lymphoma. 5 of them in one day. It's so amazing that this friend, who I haven't spoken to in some months, is on this show, because he was the one that was at my side when 5 doctors did functional testing on me and said, you, my friend, have cancer. And I want you to get checked out to confirm that you have non-Hodgkin lymphoma. I was speechless. I was stupefied. I couldn't put one foot in front of the other. I knew something serious was going on. I had way too many symptoms, signs and symptoms. I knew that there was something going on. I knew it was probably cancer. I'd been doing this work for, a pretty long time even then. And it was just mind blowing.
Well, we're going to continue. We're going to finish the thought about the beauty in that diagnosis when we get off the air. But for now, thank you so much, Nelson, for being on the show. And to you, my viewers and my listeners, thank you for coming on the show today. Please remember, it's time to take your health back. You can gain it back. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Good job. Okay. So this is where the show ends on the air, and this is where we continue just for a little bit. I have one of my doctors that I have to go see today after the show. The beauty in the diagnosis.
So what happened was, I'm a man, you and I think so much alike. When I hear you talk, it's like, yes, 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 yes. What I did is...
Yes, and.
Yes, exactly. So Lily, what I did was I said, okay. This is the message today. It will not be the message tomorrow. I believe that things happen on target. I absolutely believed it with my cancer. As I told you, I felt like it made me a better man, better person, better husband, better father, far better doctor. I said, I'm going to find a way to become a better human being from this experience. And if I tell you that I am a far better human being having gone through it. I could not say it with greater gratitude and sincerity.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think that that's the bottom line. You know, there is another F word that we try not to mention in our life, which is forgiveness. You know, and in that process of healing, that forgiveness is crucial. But just like the partner of forgiveness is gratitude for whatever it is,
Mhm.
that practice, and talk about, you know, building muscle,
Yes,
forgiveness and gratitude.
gratitude. Oh,
Those two things are crucial to healing. I don't know if you know Dr. Lorraine Day, but Dr. Lorraine Day was days away from death. She was stage 4 cancer. She refused chemotherapy. She said, I'm not going to poison my body to heal my body.
body, yes.
She was so angry at her ex-husband, who cheated in her own home with, I think it was her best friend. I can't remember if it was her best friend, but she was so full of anger, and that's when the cancer started
Yes,
eating and
yes.
consuming. It wasn't until she was in hospice, ready to die, that she started her forgiveness practice, that she started looking at how important nature is, and oxygen and water and good
Yes.
nutrition. It was like, that was her beauty right there.
I love that
She
story.
faced death in the eye and said, I've got to let go of this.
Right.
It's
There's no more
killing
need
me.
for this in my life and my being.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know, and you know what? When we're children, we are the center of the universe. We teach our children, treat others the way you want to be treated, because we're center of the universe. Everybody
Right.
wants to be like me.
Me,
But that
yes.
doesn't support us as we get older.
That's right.
We have to treat others the way they want to be treated.
Treated.
And
Yes.
so in that process, we teach people to treat us with disrespect, and we accept it. And we blame others for our failures, when in fact, if we just say, regardless of what's happening in my life, I reclaim it.
I love
And,
that, Lily.
and
I
I'm going
call
to,
that I call that self-envenomation, self-poisoning. Meaning when you hold on to anger, anger will kill you faster. Anger or severe guilt will kill you faster than anything. It will set up a chain reaction of things, whether it kills you through a car accident, some other accident,
yeah,
cancer. You do
it's
not
like
want to
domino effect.
harbor anger and resentment. I couldn't agree more with you. Every single day I say to myself, God, I turn over everything that for you to transmute that no longer serves me. I
Mhm.
forgive all those who trespass against me. I go to sleep with a clear mind and clear body. I will not hold on to any attitudes or beliefs that do not support my continued transformation and growth.
I love it. I love it. And, you know, it is time for those of you who are watching on Facebook, because we're still on Facebook Live. When you do the 100% responsibility page, when you go there,
Yes.
I ask people to write down everything that has been done to them, and all the things, whether you did it, because there are times that we are the offenders,
Absolutely.
we are the violators. And so even if it's something we did or someone did to us, there are 4 little questions that will set us free. The first question is, how do I create it? And that question, how did I create it, must be answered without blame, fault, shame, or duty. How did I create it? Well, you know, how did I create being abused by my parents? It might be I was born to that family.
Right.
It's not a blame, shame, fault. It is what it
Right.
is, right?
Yeah.
The second question is, what are the gifts and lessons, that collateral beauty that we
Absolutely.
talk about? The third one is, now that I know how I created it and what the gifts and lessons are, the third question is, what's going to be different?
Love it. I love it.
And then the fourth question, whereas where you are right now, is how am I going to take what I've learned that I thought was done to me, that is a gift for me, so that I can help others in the process. And that's where you, my friend, are living your life at 100%
Percent.
responsibility. So I just wanted
Yes.
to acknowledge that
Thank
in
you.
you.
Thank you, Lily.
Yeah, and you know, it's Max Planck who said, it's not the snake bite. No, that was not. It was Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer. He said it's not the snake bite that kills you. It's the venom that runs through your blood.
Yes. That's why I call it self-envenomation.
I love it. I love it.
That's
That's why I thought of
exactly,
it.
yeah. And Viktor Frankl is who you were thinking of.
Viktor Frankl.
I
Thank
thought
you.
there and went, oh, come on, I know who this is. Viktor Frankl. Yes, love him. Love him.
Yes, yes. And so, you know, these are all our teachers.
Yes.
They're all our teachers. Everything is a teachable moment, even if we don't like the gift because it's in horrible wrapping paper. It is a wonderful. It's the beauty. It's our defining moment. That's the gift that defines our moment.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say thank you to you and thank you for sharing your story. I'm looking forward to being on your show.
I cannot wait, Lily. You're going to have a blast with me.
I know I will.
I'm all about do the same thing you are. We have this. We honor the same commitments, the same attributes. You know, when you come on, we're going to talk about what lights you up and what brings your magic to the world. And the reason people say to me, Nelson, you have a very successful practice. Why would you allow yourself to be distracted by having a radio show and a podcast? And the answer is that I came here to do big things. I'm delighted to help people one-on-one, but I need to play on a bigger stage.
I
And
love
I've
it.
always known that. And I want people like you to learn certain messages. One of the most powerful things in the world you can do to reclaim your life is to let go of all the emotions that do not serve you, because you can't move forward, Lily, if you're seething with rage about how you're victimized. All you do is keep everything at play that would hold you stuck to that
Yeah,
snare.
yeah. And the voices in our head, the voices in our head. I studied with Mark Travis. Mark Travis is the person that you call when you want to write your own story. When you're in Hollywood and you want to tell a story, he's the one, Mark Travis.
Love it. Love
And
it.
he taught me that we don't just have a voice in our head, we have a committee. We have a committee of voices in our head.
Oh, I love
And
it, Lily.
one of the voices in his head is Vic. And Vic is vicious inner critic.
Oh,
And it doesn't have to be that person, because we continue sometimes the work of that person in our
yes.
life.
Yes.
That thing that keeps going and churning. So it's really good for us, and as a practice, to sit down and write down the things that we're really discontent about and process it and let it go, because that's the only way, because we don't want to look at those things. We don't
Right.
want to look at the molestation. We don't want to look at the abuse. We don't want to look at the things that we've done to rub people the wrong way. And so when we do that for ourselves, it really is liberating. It really is. Because if we
Lily,
don't, we just carry it with us
with
everywhere
us
we go.
forever. Yeah. Lily, you know, I've had a few friends say to me, Nelson, you have a connection to working with people and their bodies that I've never seen before. Where does it come out of? And I look at them and I say, do you really want to know? Yeah, I really do. It comes from destroying bodies. What? Yes. I learned my system based out of martial arts, which was based out of stopping people who were in an insane state from attacking me. And
Exactly.
so what irony that now the entirety of my life is an expression in the world of helping as many people as I possibly can.
Good.
And that was started from doing tremendous damage to human beings who confronted me in very bad situations.
Well, I
Go
am
figure.
so glad. I am so glad you healed that part of your life, because
Yes.
you have a story to tell. You have a passion and you have a purpose. And I'm
Yes.
glad that you listened to that voice in your head, because that voice in your head was a divine voice that we all have. We
Yes.
all
Yeah.
have that divine voice that we've
Right.
tuned out. We have tuned out to that divine voice, and that's what creates depression, and that was what creates anxiety.
Anxiety.
We have
Yeah.
so disconnected to that divine voice within us that is guaranteed promises that is in us. And so I am just grateful that you heard the voice, that you answered the call, and that you answered my call, that you're on my show today. So thank you so much.
It was an honor and a privilege, Lily. It was so delightful being with you, and I look forward to you being on my show. I can't wait.
Me too. Me too. And for those of you who are still tuning in, and if you're in Facebook Live, or for those of you who are watching on YouTube, please like us, share us, help the show grow. He doesn't need the show to grow. I need my show to grow because he's already got it. But well, actually, we both. So the more we grow, the more we know. So
Yes.
it's so important that we stay together. So until our next conversation, until we meet again. Thank you so much, Dr.
You are
Nelson.
very welcome, Lily. My pleasure.
Yes. And so now I was told by Ashley, I need to stop the live stream. So see you guys on Facebook. Say goodbye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Okay. And now I am going to turn off my recording because it's so important that I do that too. So we can have a little private conversation. So
Okay.
we'll see you soon. Let me see. Pause the recording.